you're a Denver Broncos fan. Of course, you've been a part of the Denver sports scene forever. Uh, John Elway, with all due respect to him, Super Bowl winning quarterback, Super Bowl winning executive, but he's had several misses the last few years with quarterbacks. I think Case Keenum can be a solid quarterback with the right game plan, as we saw with the Minnesota Vikings, but the Broncos didn't get what they bargained for this year, finishing with a losing record. Not as bad as the Oakland Raiders, but still not great, missing the playoffs again since that Super Bowl victory with Peyton Manning. Going into 2019, what do you think your Broncos need to do to get back on the winning track?
Oh, fantastic question. Now, before I go into this answer, Fred, I got to show you something. Don't panic. I'm still here. There he is. Wow. The first Super Bowl victory for the Denver Broncos. I have been a diehard Bronco fan since I was a kid. I'm originally from New York. My parents moved me here when I was only 6 years old, and so I've grown up a Bronco fan, a huge John Elway fan, of course. I wish that we would have had this conversation a couple years ago when we were actually winning the Super Bowl, but you have to take the good times with the bad, and that's what makes you a sports fan. You got to go through those losses. I was in high school when the Broncos got blown out every Super Bowl. It got to the point where you were like, do I even want them to go? You know, the NFC was the king. You know, as an East Coast guy, the Giants were dominating, the 49ers. It was tough. It was tough. So, you know what? And then when we have Peyton Manning's not going to get blown out in the Super Bowl. What happens? Seattle blows them out in New York. I was out there for Inside MMA, and the only good thing about that was I had the chance to go. The tickets were like $1,200, $1,500. And I decided not to because I wanted to watch it with my oldest son, Kyler. And so I came home, and thank goodness I did not buy those tickets. So, yeah, up and down this year, very disappointing, very disappointing. Case Keenum has not been the answer, but I don't blame only him. They have their offensive line needs another revamping. It's been that way forever. Key injuries. I mean, they lost Emmanuel Sanders. They lost Chris Harris Jr., two guys that are leaders on this team. Has it been frustrating? Yes. I think John Elway has missed with several quarterbacks now, drafting, and you can't give him credit for Peyton Manning. You or I could have said, yes, let's go out and get Peyton Manning. That's just a no-brainer. But drafting and drafting up to get Paxton Lynch, who's no longer even in the league now, embarrassing. And he's missed on several of these guys. Brock Osweiler's another one. So people are getting frustrated here. Listen, this will always be a Broncos town, and John Elway will always be beloved for winning those Super Bowls. But John Elway, the GM, is getting beat up pretty bad. So we'll see what happens. I think they got some good young receivers. I think they need to steady that line. I mean, my boy, Philip Lindsay, holy moly, undrafted from University of Colorado. When they didn't draft him, I was losing my mind. I've seen the kid play. It was unbelievable. So he's got a very bright future, but they've got a lot of holes to fill. I thought Bradley Chubb was a great, number one pick, but they need some help on offense.